Hi, welcome to the second unit on arrays. Let's start with some common methods. Arrays being objects. Now if you don't know what's object, that's fine, but arrays being objects have got methods. So you can actually use these methods like length, dot clear, dot delete at, dot delete, dot empty, question mark. The question mark is part of the name of the method name, and dot include. There are many more methods. You can do a search for Ruby array methods and just glance through it so that you know that you can use these methods when they are available. Let's go through them quickly. So in interactive Ruby, let's create an array. Let's say apple, orange, false, 0, 10, 5, new. Okay, so I've created an array with how many elements? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a dot length gives you 7. That's what is length for, or a dot size. Actually, that's the same. A dot length will give you the number of elements in the array. Be careful, it's the number of elements, including nails. Alright, so if I actually stretch a to I can easily stretch the size of a by doing this. A 100, that means the 101st element equals to 6. If I do that, what is a dot length? It's going to be 101, because remember, all the nils will be inserted in between. This is the value. These are the values stored in a. You can't see the stuff on the right, but there'll be a lot of nils to the last element. This is index 100. In other words, it's the 101st element, 6. Okay, so remember that nils are included in the concept of length. Okay, so what about dot clear? Dot clear is quite straightforward. A dot clear simply removes all the elements in A. And now A is an empty array. Okay, let me fill it up with something again. Alright, now I've got 3 elements in A. So delete at removes an element at a particular index. So delete at 0. Okay, it will show you the element being deleted. This is the element being deleted. So now A is left with only 2 elements. Alright, let's try again. Delete at 1. Okay, this one. 5 is deleted. I'm left with 1 element. What about this again? Now, take note that there's no element at position number 1. There's no element at position number 1. Okay, it just returns nil. In other words, nothing has been deleted, and A still contains our single element number 2. So just be aware that we call delete at, and there's nothing at this position. Basically, nothing happens. Okay, no error will be returned. No error will be returned. This does not return an error, even though there's no element. There's no 101st element. Now, delete does not remove an element at a particular index. Delete basically searches an array and removes matching values regardless of their position. Let's show an example. Let's say A equals to, I've got 5, 6, 6, 7, 5, 2, apple. A dot delete 6. Okay, this is not an index, but this is a value. So what happens is they'll search through the whole array, and if they find a matching value, this is a matching value, they remove it. This is a matching value, they remove it. Okay, so calling this delete method actually in this case removes 2 elements. Alright, if you check out the value of A, you realize that 2 6s have been removed. Okay, basically everything, all the elements which match 6 will be removed. A dot delete, let's say 0. Okay, nothing gets deleted because there's no 0 inside. Alright, so A remains the same. Dot empty question mark basically checks if A contains anything. So A.empty returns false if it contains elements. A.empty remains true. Let me give an example. B equals to an empty element, empty array. A.empty returns true. Alright, that's what it means. Very, very simple. Dot include question mark basically checks if it contains, what is in A now? It contains something. So does it contain the value 2? Yes, true. Does it contain the value 5? Yes, true. Does it contain orange? No, false. Okay, remember the question mark is part of the method. It's part of the method. So, like I've said just now, there are several other useful methods. You can do a search and go through the list of other common useful methods. Let's move on to the second part. We're going to talk about looping through an array. Put another way, we are iterating through the elements in an array from the first to the last, right? Or from the last to the first, whatever. Looping through an array using the for loop. Remember the for keyword or the while loop. So let me show an example. Now let's say the problem is we already have an original array of elements. You want to create a new array containing only negative numbers found in the original array. So how do we do that? One way is to loop through every element in the original array and check the element. If it's positive or 0, ignore it. If it's negative, I'll insert that value into a new array. So let's try this. Let's set A to a series of numbers. Let's say -6, -7, 4, 5, 6, 2, -3. Okay. Now B is an empty array. Now B is going to be the target, so-called the new array, and A is the original array. So I can write a loop for I in 0 dot dot A dot length -1. Now what I'm trying to do here, A dot length -1, A dot length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 elements in A, so A dot length is 7. A dot length -1 is 6. Okay, I'm using A dot length -1 instead of writing 6 here because just in case I change the values in A, and A does not have got may have different number of elements. So A dot length is actually something quite dynamic. So 0 to A dot length -1. Why -1? Because remember indexing starts from 0. So if there are 7 elements, the last element is at position 6. That means the index of the last position, the index of the 7th element is 6. That's why A dot length -1. So what I'm going to do in this for loop, basically I will check if AI is negative. Alright, what should I do? I'll insert it into B. Let me space it out a bit. The spaces are not necessary, but it's easier to read, right? And the if block and the for block. That's it. So when I hit enter here, the for loop runs. During the first iteration, I is 0. I will check A0. Is it negative? Now A0 is -6. So yes, this is true. I'll go into the for block and I'll insert A0 into array B. At this point in time, array B has got 1 element, -6. Alright, and this is the last statement of the for loop. I'll jump back to here. Now I becomes 1, and I'll check, is A1 negative? And this is A1, yes, it's negative, so I'll insert -7 into B. Okay, end of if block, end of for block. Now I becomes 2, and A2 is 4. And so this is false. I'll skip the if block. I'll skip this statement and I'll reloop and so on. Okay, so let's check what is in B. Alright, only the negative values in A. And of course A remains unchanged. So this could be one very simple problem. I have to go through every single element in A and only retrieve the negative elements and put it into a new array called B. Alright, now I can let's assume that we want the we want the elements in B to be in reverse order. So what you can do is to start from the back. In other words, I check the last element first. I check the last element, A last element. So how do I do that? I can modify this code a bit. This is the place to modify. Okay, so instead of if AI is smaller than 0, I'll do something like if A dot length minus 1 minus I. So basically I'm actually starting from the back. I'm checking the last element here first. I say again, this one can be A square bracket A dot length minus 1 minus I. So during the first iteration when I is 0, I'm dealing with A6, which is the last element. During the second iteration, I'm dealing with A5. During the third iteration, I'm dealing with A4 and so on. So I'll get in B minus 3, minus 7, and minus 6. So you can have a series of different problems using arrays, and it'd be quite interesting to solve them. Now, let's look at the last part. In Ruby, it is actually very easy to look through an array without using for or while. Okay, there's this thing called delete if. Delete if is a method of an array object. And how does it work? Array, this is just the array variable, right? Delete if, this is a pipe by the way, okay? Item, just put a variable name here, and a block. Now this block basically is a condition to delete the element. It's kind of difficult to explain, so let's take a look at an example. These are the elements in A. I can do A dot delete if curly brace pipe x is smaller than 0. Okay, let's see what is happening. Close curly brace. Enter. What is in A now? You realize that several elements have been deleted in A. So what this simple statement does is it goes through every single element in the array from the first to the last. You definitely go from first to last, and during each iteration the value is stored in X. If you do not want to use X, you can use Y. The value of the current element is stored in X, and you will check, is this condition true? In other words, is the current element negative? If so, delete that element. Then you will go to the next element, check if this condition is true. If so, delete the element. That's why the method is called delete if. Okay, so this is a very useful method if you want to get rid of elements in an array which fulfills a certain condition. Of course, this condition can be complex. X smaller than 0 and X bigger than -5, that kind of thing. Okay, this expression can actually be quite complex. Now, what about array.each? This one is used for deleting elements which meet this criteria. This one is for iterating through all the elements, and you want to perform something on each element. So what I've shown just now for point 2, the example, can actually be done using array.each. You do not need a for loop or while loop. Okay, in Ruby this is really convenient. Let me show an example. Okay, back to our A, which has now 4 elements now. A.each, open curly brace. Again, this is just a variable name. In other words, during each iteration, the element's value is stored in this variable called X. I'll do something like puts X. A very simple example. Enter. Okay, in this case, A has not been changed. So what happens is that during the first iteration, X is 4. I'll perform this action. I'll print it out, and I got this in this case. During the second iteration, X is 5. I print 5 out. During the third iteration, I print 6 out. Fourth iteration, I print 2 out. Like what I've said, this can be something more complex. It doesn't have to be. It can be really something complex. Let me give an example. I can do something like sum equals to 0. a dot each x sum equals to sum plus x. Okay, sum equals sum plus x. So basically, I'm actually accumulating the total of all the elements in the array. Okay, and you realize that sum now contains 17, which is 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 2. Okay, you do not need to write a for loop for this. You may if you want to, but this makes it really easy to go through every element in the array from the first to the last. Okay,